There's always a scale garage inside all of these boxes. And I want you to guess before I show you. Should be pretty obvious. Welcome back to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. Today we're taking a first look, run and review of the new-ish Element Zuul. And here it is right here. And you're thinking to yourself, I've seen the Zuul. I'm the Keymaster. Ghostbuster jokes aside, there have been some subtle changes to the Zuul, and I think it's made it a even better truck than it was before. And I was actually pretty surprised by this one when I took it out the first time. It performed a lot better than I was anticipating. They've removed a little bit of that performance for the sake of making this a much more compelling platform. They did away with the solid front axle, and now it's got the Camberg branded IFS 2. The much better independent front suspension system than the original IFS 1. This one is very good. It's a lot more compact, much better steering rack setup, and a much more effective independent front suspension. And people like independent front suspension as much as it isn't a performance upgrade over a solid axle in most cases. It certainly is a scale accurate upgrade. And this is really great because the Zuul, as most of us should know by watching my previous review, which I will link to right up here, has a trailing arm rear suspension setup. And here's what that looks like here. You see you get much longer suspension travel than you would in a typical truck, and it's got a nice sway bar, and it's got really great shocks. I do really like the Element shocks. I think they do a really good job on those. This has basically turned itself overnight into a pre-runner platform. Without a lot of major modifications, you can put a much larger spur and pinion on this truck, a hotter motor, and then you've got a great pre-runner platform instead of what I've been hacking together over the last few months. So not a lot of new overall, but new elements to make this a much better Element truck. It still includes the Zuul body with the weirder half-back proportions. It is a strange looking truck, there's no doubt about that. It looks great from up front. As you can see right there, it looks great from up front. Then it starts to get a bit weird from the side profile and from the rear. It's not the prettiest back there, but to compensate for that lack of beauty, Element gave us another option to help customize this by adding the scratch and weather style body. And this first came out on the Trail Walker Texas Ranger, and now it appears here. It's been on the Ecto, I think, as well, and now it's here on the Zuul. And if I were into ruining my streak of not working with Lexan, I would have already shown you how to do this. But I will link to a video where I did this before so you can see how this works. Essentially, what Element does is paint the body on the outside with a flat paint and paint the inside of the body with a rust-colored paint. So when you scratch at this, it'll reveal the paint that's been painted on the inside. It's a technique we've been using for years, and now they're just offering it right out of the box, which is pretty nice, especially if you're into modifying Lexan, which I am not at all. I do very much like the look of this truck from about here forward. It has a really great FJ-esque kind of look to it without being a licensed body. It is quite a narrow, small body, so it actually does work quite well for rock crawling and being on the rocks. It doesn't tend to be in the way at all, which is really good. Still using body posts. I would really love to see Element get away from that. Hopefully with their next platform they will. There are no LEDs included with this truck, but the light bar does work. It can be made to function as a real light bar. There are light buckets for your headlights as well. I think even the marker lights could accept an LED as well. It's nice to see the Casey Daylighter branding. Overall, this is a pretty great package to start your next pre-runner build if you don't want to keep this body. It's really got all the parts you need right out of the box to get started on something a little more custom. And I think that's definitely one of the customers that Element had in mind when they put this truck together. So you get a 4.19 inch tall tire on a 1.9 inch plastic beadlock? On a 1.9 plastic method beadlock wheel. Nice little faux winch on the front there as well. and I like this little tube stinger style bumper with the fair lead. I think that's all really nice packaging. Let's take the body off real quick and see what we've got underneath. Underneath, you've got a pretty typical layout. This is... Francis, stop meowing so much. You just lost access privileges. Another couple upgrades on the chassis itself. You can see they've moved to the FlySky 2-in-1 ESC receiver combo. Power switch mounted right up top. Lots of outputs for lights if that's your thing. Plenty of outputs for accessories as well, which is really great to see. You still got your 6% Stealth X drive transmission. Mounted in the same way as always, with a 550 can 14-turn 5-slot motor. Nice and smooth, nice and quiet. Great way to get yourself started in this hobby without spending a ton of money. They're nice motors. They, while not being rebuildable, this one will last you a good long time. The steering servo that's included is the 15 kilogram style and is a decent start for a RTR. I do really like this trailing arm rear suspension. I think it just adds so much capability to this truck. It's a really nice starting package for any pre-runner build. Like I've said before, pre-runner, trophy truck, whatever you want to call it. I know there are differences, but I don't really know what they are. This IFS 2 system, heavily upgraded over the original and works so much better and is not nearly as bulky as the outgoing model either. So it really does reduce the amount of complexity, but also keeps this really nicely packaged. I think this is probably one of Element's better trucks overall. You know me, I'm a sucker for IFS. I really do think it adds just a whole other level of realism, and it just looks fantastic. You know, this is a really great setup. And if you wanted to make this a little more atypical, you could always try making a leaf sprung rear suspension so you could do yourself a 4Runner build if that was really what you were into as well. How do you feel about independent front suspension? Put a comment down below. You know I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of those comments as I can. And if you're enjoying this video and you'd like to see more reviews of new trucks, hit the like button, make a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. All of those things. Along with the truck, you also get the FlySky 2.4 gigahertz radio. Pretty simple radio, but it is a 4-channel radio, so if you want to add some stuff to it, you can keep using it. I'm not a big fan of the plasticized wheel, but it is easy enough to drive one-handed, and it has all your digital trim switches that you would expect on a radio of this caliber. You can also adjust the drag brake from the radio, as well as the running mode and battery type. There's also a handy manual that's included, as well as a nicely appointed sticker sheet, including a couple of Scale Builders Guild shields, which I always appreciate seeing on any truck. Their bumper stickers could use some work though. There's also a hefty accessory bag, including some different gears so you can change your overdrive to the more 12% model, or I think 0% as well if you didn't want any overdrive whatsoever. There's some light buckets, some plastic accessories, including some GoPros, which is pretty cool. The larger battery tray if you want to go for more battery, but I don't know. I think it doesn't fit with this body. They also include body posts if you wanted to go to an SUV style body as well. I've kept you in suspense long enough. The interior of the box is Ghostbusters themed. There's actually, let's see if you can quick, where is it? There's what's his face, Vigo the Carpathian. Yes, there's a lot of Ghostbusters themed stuff, as well as a containment unit for ghosts. I am not afraid of any ghosts. That's fun. Oh, there's some slime there. So there you go. Okay, now that we've gotten a first look at the truck out of the way, and I've given you some opinions, let's take it outside and see how it does. Hey all, no live commentary for this one, but I will say that Element did a really nice job of repackaging the Zuul in this sort of updated IFS 2 version. I really like the fact that they've included IFS 2, but I think the biggest change for me was the actual motor speed. Wheel speed of this truck is significantly better than a lot of Element's past. And with this IFS setup and trailing arm suspension, you expect a little bit more speed, and it's nice to see that in what is essentially still a rock crawler, trail truck, whatever you want to call it, it's got that wheel speed that kind of makes it feel like it could be a really nice pre-runner or trophy truck, or, you know, any of those conversions that I myself have been working on for a long time and have done before and will continue to do. All in all, it's a really nice package, and the updated electronics from FlySky really do make this a much more compelling package. So if you're interested in picking one up and doing some of your own body work to make this look a little bit more weathered, this is a pretty good choice. Okay, on to the running footage, and stay tuned for a little banjo. So there you go, first look, run and review of the new-ish, how about I say revised? So there you go, first look, run and review of the revised Element Zuul. That's going to do it. Thank you so much to Element for sending me this truck so I could do this review, and of course to you for watching. We'll see you again soon. Got to put my glasses on.